people who shouting from the river to the sea are not really Islamic. And they don't, and many of them don't even agree with Hamas. The river to the sea is a Palestinian chant, it's not an Islamic chant. That's number one. Number two, from the river to the sea is not coined by the Palestinians, it's coined by the Israelis. It's in the Likud party chart in 1977. They say from the sea to the Jordan, there are only going to be Israeli sovereignty. So they coined the thing before that. Second of all,
okay, so first of all, it says it's not Islamic. Okay, these are points you're supposed to make for why the river to the sea. If the point he's trying to make is that why this chant from the river to the sea, Palestine should be free, it will be free, is not anti-Semitic. First of all, it's more than anti-Semitic. It's genocidal. Okay, in my opinion. But first, he says it's not Islamic. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, I can connect it to Islam if you want. I could show you how it can be Islamic. But let's say it's not Islamic. Okay. How does that make it not genocidal, not anti-Semitic? Are you saying, is this guy Muslim? Because that's such an anti-Islamic take. Are you saying the only way to be genocidal is with Islam? Wow, because that's very a bold claim. I am anti-Islam, aggressively anti-Islam. And I think that's unfair to Islam if somebody makes that point. Like, how could this be bad or genocidal? It's not Islamic. Okay, sir, there are ways to be genocidal outside of Islam. I mean, I kid you not, Hitler was not a Muslim. And he did the Holocaust. So, like, yeah, I mean, what is it even that point? I'm pretty sure people being Muslim makes it more likely for them to be anti-Semitic, but they could be anti-Semitic in non-Islamic ways. Even though you being Islamic encourages you to be anti-Semitic based on your ideology, if you take your ideology seriously. I know there are a lot of Muslims that don't even know their ideology, and they're good people and peaceful people, and they don't understand their own religion. But if you want to take your religion seriously, it does encourage you to be anti-Semitic. And then once you're encouraged to be anti-Semitic, you could be anti-Semitic in non-Islamic way and chant from the river to the sea. So there's that. Then he says the origin is from the Likud party. Two wrongs doesn't make it right. Let's say, first of all, even if they said that, I doubt that their intention was to be genocidal. Okay, are they saying they want to control the entire area? By the way, I'm against the Likud party because they're against it. You know, one of the many reasons I'm against the Likud party is because they have made it very difficult, if not impossible, to have a two-state solution. Right? They don't want a two-state solution, and I can believe, I don't even know if they said this, but I can believe that they said that they want to control from the river to the sea. Yeah, and okay, screw them. Screw the Likud party. How does that justify from the river to the sea chant? I know people within the Israeli government right now that are genocidal. So those idiots, there are two far right parties in Israel that have really, even within Israel, people don't. I mean, why do I say even? Especially against Israel, in Israel, there are many people that are against this government, and especially these far right parties. I don't know if these people do mention you that Israel had recently had the greatest mass protests in the history of the Middle East against their government, against the people that you're naming. So like, oh, well, the Likud party said that. Like, okay, screw the Likud party. How does this justify this chant? If anything, as somebody who's against the Likud party, wouldn't that make it more justifiable that this is a bad chant? I mean, aren't you, sir, against the Likud party? So how are you now endorsing, like, oh, well, it started with them? Okay, wouldn't that mean more reasons for you to be against this chant rather than supporting it? How is that a win for you? How is that a win for you? My family left their home in partition for the creation of Pakistan. Somehow that flies under the radar, but Israel is evil. I wonder what's the difference. The difference is that there were no Jews involved. There were no Jews involved, so people don't care. Okay, There's the deep-rooted level of hatred against Jews that exists around the world, means that people care about this conflict because there's no opportunity that the world misses to condemn the Jews. That's the reason this war and this moving of people and the war and the country defending itself gets this much attention. And that's why we need to defend this country more than other countries, because guys, when we defend Israel, we're not just defending Israel. When we are defending Israel, we're defending certain standards, global standards that are being threatened. It's always the Jews first. It's always the Jews first. The Jews are like a canary in the mine, right? When they want to, if you don't stand strong when it comes for the Jews, when all these standards, all these norms, all these global agreements that we have, the Achilles heels is the Jews. Because if you want to take the world liberal order down, if you're an Islamist or a wokish leftist, and you're against this entire world liberal order that has made all our lives better. In the past 100 years, we have benefited from this unimaginably. Like the amount of food, the amount of comfort, the amount of peace, the amount of healthcare, the amount of water, the amount of everything that you enjoy, it's unimaginable. The kings and emperors and queens and the lords of for 10,000 years of the history of civilization, nobody imagined living like you do today. Nobody imagined being this sure that you're not going to die from violence, the level that we have that we're enjoying in the world today. Nobody imagined being able to see most of their children grow up older than 5. This is something that we have that we need to keep. But the hatred for Jews is so much that if you want to come for these standards, you come for the Jews. And if you don't stand up right now and defend Israel, to stand up for these international standards that accepts and recognizes Israel as a country, then you are playing with fire, because then the entirety of the system is at question. If we don't uphold it for Israel, then we can't uphold it for any other country. So guys, we're not defending Israel when we're defending Israel. We're defending the planet. Same thing goes with Ukraine. When we're defending Ukraine against a challenge, against the internationally recognized borders around the world, we're not just defending Ukraine, we're defending the planet. Because these are the standards that we're defending. A standard. We're defending liberalism. We're defending secularism. We're defending international agreements. These are the standards that we're defending. So it's not just Ukraine. It's not just Israel. When we defend the woman life freedom movement in Iran, we're defending certain values for the world, not just those people. How many times does the Quran mention Palestine? Well, zero times. It mentions Israel a lot, though.
When I criticize Israel, I criticize it because it's in a position of power. I'm absolutely no fan of Hamas, and from my
look at this mindset. When I criticize Israel, it's because Israel is in a position of power. I am no fan of Hamas, but I criticize Israel because they're in a position of power. This is such a defeatist attitude. This is a far left idea. So, guys, let me introduce you with this concept, okay? Far right people think might is right. If you are powerful, if you're in a position of power, you must be right. Far left people think that if you're in a position of power, you must be, there's something wrong with you. You must be wrong. The underdog needs defending. Both of these positions are idiotic. Whether you're in power or not in power is irrelevant to whether or not you're right. You could be in power and be attacked by a bunch of weak barbarians. That because they're weak, it doesn't make them right. It doesn't make you wrong because you're stronger. This is why liberalism is the perfect in between. Here's the thing: the attitude of might is wrong is punishes success. But we want success. Leftists, a lot of far leftists, are against anybody who's in power. So if you succeed, if you use the methodology and the standards and the values that makes your country more prosperous, gives your country more power to defend its citizens, we would be against you. Do you know how much of a defeatist mentality is that? You should be happy, you should be proud that your country managed to be stronger to defend its citizens. Why are you anti-power? You should want power. Power means safety, security. Why are you guys anti-positions of power? This is why liberalism. So here's the thing. This is why both far-right people and far-left people hate liberals. Do you know why they hate liberals? Far-right people hate liberals. No, far-left people hate liberals first. Let me say that. Far-left people hate liberals because liberalism works. And when it works, it makes you powerful. And because you're in power, then the leftists will be against you. You know, when Israel was weaker, when it was a baby country, you know, leftists were not this much against Israel. A lot of them. I mean, a lot of them were because they were Jews, but many of them, they were less. But as Israel becomes powerful, it falls within far leftist ideology that they're evil. Liberalism works and it achieves power because it works. But far right people hate liberals because liberals use that power to defend the weak. So they're hated by far leftists because they're powerful. They are hated by far right people because that power is used to defend the weak. And the weak should be wiped out, according to the far right. You should want power. You should go for power. And you should use that power for good, which Israel is. Israel is responding to an attack on its country. Every country's government's responsibility is to respond. If you don't respond, you're betraying your own people. You're not showing your deterrent capabilities. That's the whole point of having an army. That when you're attacked, you advertise to the whole world your deterrent capabilities. If you don't demonstrate that, you have failed your own citizens. And guess what? Every time you do that, citizens die. Every time you do that, citizens die. But if you don't do that, more citizens die. More civilians will die. So you have to choose the lesser evil.
History in Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood doesn't like me, and I don't like them either. I am against a theocracy, and I'm against religion being in politics, and that's why I found it very hypocritical from Israel saying that we are a secular, democratic state, and at the same time that we are a Jewish state. What are you? Are you a theocracy or a democracy?
Okay, you're an idiot. First of all, Jewish refers to multiple different things. Jewish refers to ethnicity, a culture, and a religion, right? So when you say Israel is a Jewish state, are you talking about the demographic of the country, or are you talking about the rules of the country? If you say, for example, Norway is a white country. So Israel, when you say Israel is a Jewish country, if you're talking about Jewish as a religion, are you talking about the majority religion of its population? Because, for example, I could say, like Tunisia, for example, is a Muslim country, a Muslim majority country. Are you talking about Jewish majority, as in most of the most widely religion in that country is Jewish? I could say United States is a Christian country. By that, I wouldn't use that language, but somebody could mean by a Christian country, a Christian majority country. Not that it's not, United States is a secular country, but it's also a Christian majority country. So if I say United States is a Christian country, what am I saying? I have to ask that person to clarify. Are you saying that it's a Christian majority country, or are you saying the laws are Christian? Is the government Christian? Because if you're talking about the government, no, United States is a secular country. If you're saying it's a Christian country because it's Christian majority, then yes, you have a point. So again, when somebody say Israel is a Jewish country, they need to clarify. They need to clarify two things. Are they talking about the religion or the ethnicity? If they're talking about the religion, are they talking about it being a Jewish majority country, or are they talking about the government being run by Jewish laws? Because if it's not by Jewish laws, then it is secular. And here's the thing, secularism is not binary. It's a spectrum. For example, Israel's government is more secular than its neighbors. Is it as secular as I like it to be? No. It's not as secular as Canada, is not as secular as United States, is definitely not as secular as France, which I like. I like the level of secularism of France. I like the level of free speech of United States, and I like the level of secularism of France. Is Israel that secular? No. Is it more secular than every other Islamic country out there and every other Arab country? Yes. So it's a spectrum. I wish it was more secular, but Israel is strong, is a strong country largely because of the level of secularism that it has. And it has that. It has that. When I went to Israel, I saw something that I didn't like. I saw in Tel Aviv a court, a Sharia court, a taxpayer-funded Sharia court in Tel Aviv. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't know that in Israel, the government pays courts for Muslims to have their own Sharia laws for their personal affairs, for personal law, for family law. They have Sharia courts in Tel Aviv. Goes against what a lot of people assume about the government of Israel. Did you know that Jews in Israel pay taxes, and they're part of that tax? Jewish people, some of their tax money goes into Sharia courts. Again, that is a fun fact to know about Israel because it's the opposite of what people think. But at the same time, I don't like it because it's against secularism. So that, if when you say Israel is a Jewish state, is a Jewish country, if you mean religion, if you're talking about the population, I agree. If you're talking about the government, I disagree. It's not a Jewish state because the laws are not based on Judaism. If you're talking about ethnicity, so see, you have four. When you say Israel is a Jewish country, there are four possible things it could mean. You could either mean that the population is Jewish by religion. You could mean that the laws are Jewish by religion. That's number two. Number three, you could mean that the ethnicity of the population there is mostly Jewish. Or you could mean that the government is an ethno-state, meaning that they have laws that prefer Jewish ethnicity. Which one of these four are you saying? The first one has nothing to do with secularism. You could be majority certain religion and the laws could still be secular, which it is in Israel. The second one would be the only one that would challenge the secularism of Israel, which is not the case in Israel. The second one is true about Israel. Ethnic-wise is majority Jewish. The fourth one is not true about Israel, but even if it was, it would not make it secular. If Israel had laws that made the ethnic Jewish people had preferential treatment for ethnically Jewish people, that would make it bad, but it would not make it not secular. It would make it an ethno-state. But no, that's not the case for Israel. The laws in Israel does not have any preferential treatment for Jews. If anything, unfortunately, it's the opposite. The only thing that you can find in Israel that Arabs and Jews have different laws for them is that Arabs get preferential treatment, because the only double standard is that Jews have to serve in the military and Arabs don't. except the ultra orthodox ones, that's also something that I'm against. But that's a very small minority. But Arabs don't have to serve in the military, and Jews have to. So the bias is against the Jews. And I know there are some laws that are based on religion, which is a few of them. Almost every country has that. That's why I think that secularism is a spectrum, and I criticize that. I'm against those.
You something like for the secular for everybody, or you just like or exclusively for the Jews? And so that's why is it like?
How dare you say that? How is Israel exclusively secular for the Jews? Show me, like, almost everybody knows that Arab citizens of Israel enjoy the rights and freedoms of other Israelis. You know this. You must know this. Then you are lying. You freaking hypocrite.
When the West talks about everything, it's liberal, secular, democratic. Only when it comes to Israel, it's biblical. Why? You know, that's the problem. Try to convince me that Israeli have more right in this land, more than Palestinian, without using religion.
Why should they have the same rights for Palestinians? They're not part of their freaking country. Are you serious? Why should Israel give Israel citizens their rights, that the rights and freedoms that their citizens enjoy, to the people of a neighboring state? What are you talking about? Do Canadians and Mexicans enjoy the rights of American citizens? Why would does France, when they decide that, okay, let's give a new right to citizens of France, does anybody come and complain? Well, like, okay, these rights that we're giving our citizens, should we give those rights to Germans? Like, no, we are writing these laws for our citizens. Why would any country, I mean, if they were deciding the rights and laws and freedoms of Palestinians, wouldn't you call them a colonizer even more? Wouldn't you be like, wait a minute, shouldn't their government decide the rights and freedoms of their citizens? Why are you deciding the rights and freedoms of their citizens? What are you talking about? You're like, oh, Palestinians do not enjoy the same rights of Israelis. Why would they? Why would a government of a country decide the rights and freedoms of people that are not their citizens? What are you talking about? Of course, every single right that you decide should apply to you. This is why he says Palestinians instead of Arabs. How about Arab citizens of Israel? Focus on them. They are the ones that you decide the rights of. Do Arab citizens of Israel enjoy the same rights? That's what you should be comparing, you fucking moron. They do. Hey, I have news for you. They do. The 20% Arab population of Israel has the same rights as the Jews of Israel. Even more rights, actually. More freedom. They have the freedom not to serve in the military. What has religion got to do with this, by the way?
Israeli have more right in this land, more than Palestinian, without using religion.
I don't understand what you're talking about. People think that rights are like something in nature. Like, try to argue to me that they have more rights. Moron, rights are some things that we agree upon. Okay? Maybe in one country we're like, okay, should we give the people the right to, do this? And people are like, yeah, let's do it. And the neighboring country were like, no, that we don't, that should be illegal in our country. Right? And maybe the citizens, if they're both democratic and liberal, country A might be like, yeah, we actually like to be able to do this in this country. And country B, the citizens are like, no, we probably want to keep that limited. Laws, rights are not something, the only rights that we want to be for everybody everywhere are the ones that we have in the UN Charter, okay? Human Rights Charter that we have in the UN, right? Everything else is we're like different. In one country, they're like, okay, everybody has to serve in the military. And people are like, yes, we want that because we are like we're surrounded by enemies. And other country were like, nope, we don't want that. We want to not make that mandatory. Laws are decided that rights are based on laws, right? And laws are agreements that people come up with. It's not ingrained in nature. It's not gifted from. It doesn't fall down from heaven. Okay, it's not gifted to you from God, and it's not a deep part of nature. It's an agreement that people come up with based on how they want to run their society. Okay, and people from different countries have different rights and freedoms based on what they think is best for the country. So they would not be equal. What we advocate for is equal rights and freedoms for citizens of a country. We want one law for each country. We don't want, because we want citizens to be treated as equally. So if one country has different laws for different citizens, that is wrong. But if two citizens of two countries have different rights and freedoms, as long as the minimum that we agreed in the United Nations is that they have that, the rest could be different. That's based on the right to self-determination. They determine their own the way to govern themselves. As long as it's a democracy and people have the right to decide who their representatives are, it will be different. I think this person is like, oh, convince me that Palestinian is the Israelis should have more rights. In what? You have to come up with specific examples. This is why we want Palestine to become a country, so that they could make these decisions themselves. But guess what? People like you, who encourage Palestinians to keep fight against Israel, have made it so that Palestine is not a nation state, and they can't decide to choose the rights and freedoms for themselves, because you have told them to focus on annihilating Israel rather than building Palestine. This is the reason why they don't have rights. The reason why Palestinians don't have rights is not because Israel is taking it away from them. It's because they have been busy fighting Israel to destroy Israel rather than building their own country so that they could have a nation state that, with politicians that represents their demography, their people, that establishes laws that they like. Laws that will ensure their rights and their freedoms. That's why they don't have rights.
They can't. Because it's even the liberal side is, they're all about, oh, we're atheists, we don't believe in God. But it is the God gave them to their promised people, promised land, promised by whom? Chosen people, chosen by whom? The God, my God, your God, whose God? As an American.
You freaking moron. That is not the argument, okay? Screw every single religion out there, including Judaism. Okay? We defend Israel not because it's in the freaking Torah or the Bible or because it's promised to them. Like, what are you saying? Are you saying Israel shouldn't exist as a country? Because, like, oh, you guys are defending Israel because it's promised by God? Okay, so no, we're not defending Israel because of that. We're defending Israel because it's recognized as a country by the United Nations. Okay, so we don't recognize the authority of God. We recognize the authority of the international norms and standards that has made the world such a better place. That's the authority that we recognize. Okay, based on that, not because of God. The historical ties, screw all those arguments. Religious ties, screw all those arguments. Okay, how about an anti-genocidal sense? How about Jews? How about the foundation of Israel made sense in a place that there was enough land for people to fit? There was more land and more resources for Arabs and Jews to be able to share. There was enough empty lands for Jews to settle. There was no country there because the Ottoman Empire had fallen, and that place belonged to no one. That place belonged. That there were nation building happening in that area at that time. So it made sense. I could make so many arguments, so many points for why Israel's foundation was justified without any use of religion or historical ties. It makes absolute sense. The foundation of Israel made absolute sense given the level of hatred that existed against the Jews around the world, and it still continues to this day. However, even if it didn't make sense, even if it was not justified, it is now a country. It is now recognized as a country, as a nation state. And even if the foundation of Israel was unjustified, it now should be defended. This is a straw man fallacy. Just like, oh, did God promise you this? No, no. We defend Israel because we defend the border integrity of every single other nation out there. That's all you need to know. But we defend Israel more because Israel's existence is challenged more because of the level of anti-Jewish hatred that exists out there.
American.